Hi, Colonel Rich Bourquin here, Commander of Space Delta 4. We're coming back to you with another one of our values talks. I'm here with my Deputy Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Trevor Fish Hollis. And the value we want to talk about, one of the things that we value is assessing and accepting risk at the lowest level. So, Fish, what do you think about taking risks, and why is it important to us here in Space Delta 4?
Okay, so boss, really the best ideas and solutions to problems, they really comes from well below our level, well below the headquarters level. It comes from the folks in the trenches, where the folks that are our SMEs in Intel, our space operators, security force personnel, all those folks again that are working the mission every single day, that tactical level expertise. I would say that our ability to leverage and push decisions down to that level, it's not a nicety for us. It's an operational imperative, and this really based off of the operational environment they work in. It's contested. It's advanced, inherently advanced. It's ever changing, and guess what? It's no guess and no surprise. We're working in a constrained environment from a resource perspective. So that's the reason why it's important, and I would say one of the most important elements of us getting after that, accepting risk at the lowest level, is ensuring that folks that take the risk, they have trust that their leadership is not going to, face shot them if they fail. What are your perspectives on the whole failure aspect of things?
Right. So, in the mission we're in, it's considered a no-fail mission. I've spent a lot of my career in things that have been called no-fail missions, whether that's ICBM, strategic missile warning, nuclear command and control. Those are all things that we call no-fail missions. And while I understand the importance and the gravity of what that's meant to convey, I worry sometimes about how people might take that, right? Because first of all, we're not no-fail people, right? So you got to be careful about how you say no-fail mission. And the other thing is it really discounts the importance of failure as a vehicle for improving the organization, improving how we do the mission, and improving ourselves as people. What are your thoughts on failure and what we can do with failing forward and making ourselves better through failure?
Well, I'll say that it's not failure for failure's sake, what I mean by that is, it's failure for the purpose of learning. If you don't learn from the failure, then that's not going to be good for anybody. And I would also say that failure has to be based still on that critical thinking that I talked about in a couple of values ago. So I think that fail fast, so you can kind of get after the problem, and so you can resolve and figure out the right way to get after the problem set or the solution to whatever problem you have in front of your face.
Yeah. So General Hyten, I remember when I was at STRACOM, he was a commander of STRACOM, and he would talk about the North Koreans and their missile program, and a lot of people would kind of scoff at the progress they were making, especially they were having so many in-flight failures with some of their rockets. And he didn't agree with that. He said, hey, they are failing forward, and each time they fail differently, and they're getting through those failures, and they're moving towards success. And we can laugh about it, but very quickly they're going to have a viable program. And so I think that's important. I think that's something we got to grasp and not shy away from. And so when I talk about this to folks in Space Delta 4, I really want them to be willing to tie these values together, tie critical thinking and that leadership at all levels, tie those together, figure out where they can take risk. Part of that's assessing risk as well. So, what's the right level where that risk is taken? And, work with your supervisors, work with your commanders on kind of figure out, what your scope of risk is. And if it's not yours to take, then push it up and get it to the right level so we can figure out how to improve. But then the other piece of that is, if it's within your scope, or, certainly as a leader, when I look at somebody who wants to take a risk, if they assess that risk properly, there's going to be a percentage of success and a percentage of failure. And if I'm willing to accept that percentage of success, I have to be willing to accept that percentage of failure. So if it's a 10%, chance of failure, and they come back to me and say, hey, boss, it failed. Okay, I've already accepted. That's part of accepting that risk. And then I got to say, okay, let's debrief it. Let's think about it critically. How do we get better, right? My promise is always not to overreact to failure, to make sure we look at it. Now, obviously, if someone hasn't assessed properly or hasn't really worked that process and just takes a kind of a blind risk or doesn't assess what level that risk should be at, that's not a good thing. But if they are doing those things properly, which is what we want them to do, I want them to trust that as leaders, we're going to not overreact to failure, and we're going to encourage learning from that and move forward and improve.
That makes sense to me, sir. And you talked about the whole trust aspect. Is there anything in particular that you can speak to when you, towards those leaders, you want to develop that trust environment? Is there any lesson or any type of thing that they should be focused on?
Yeah, I would absolutely encourage supervisors at all levels to grow that trust in their people. Look for opportunities, problems to give to the people that you lead or that you supervise. Even if you have an idea of how you want to solve that problem, I'd encourage all leaders to let your people come up with solutions. They may come up with a better solution. They may come up with a different solution that you don't like as much, but it still solves a problem. Yeah, let them take that. If it still within your guidance intent, let them take that risk. Let them go after that problem. And then again, if they fail, so there's kind of two outcomes there. If they're doing the process right, if they succeed, they're going to feel empowered. They're going to feel like you as a leader trust them, and they're going to want to take bigger risks next time and solve bigger problems. If you fail, if you respond properly, if you don't overreact, and then allow people and allow the organization to learn from it, they're going to realize that, hey, I can take a risk, I can fail, and I'm not going to get beat up over it, which will encourage me to take future risks and try to continue to solve problems because you've built trust with them.
Sir, you hit on two things that I think of regularly. It's empowerment and developing that trust at the personal level and at the professional level as well. So, yeah, definitely. Good wrap up, sir.
Okay. Hey, thanks everybody for tuning in again. So just a quick word there on assessing and accepting risk. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you again on our next Values Talk. Thanks.